I have said from the beginning that these are very serious allegations, and she deserves to be heard.
If you feel like these allegations are credible, are they disqualifying?
I cannot make that determination. I should not make that determination. That would be like the questions that were asked of Judge Kavanaugh when he was testifying.
All right, those were Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski moments ago about the sex assault allegations that are made against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Right now, Kavanaugh's at the White House for a second day as allies try to bolster his character and trotting out some time-worn responses to the accusation.
I remind you, Murkowski and Collins called for Al Franken to step down, and he didn't have due process. Supporters of Kavanaugh are calling into question Professor Christine Blasey Ford's memory of the alleged assault, along with the 36 years that passed between then and now. But these methods of discrediting a woman's accusation against a man, especially one with significant political, social, or financial power, are nothing new to sex crimes investigators.
All right, joining us now is Doug Wigdor. He's a former prosecutor who now represents sexual harassment and assault survivors. Doug, we're a few days into this now, so we can sort of dig into some of the specifics. Professor Ford has said she can't remember a lot of the details. Now, I think it's fair to say that most of us don't remember a lot of details, but that is something that people who are critical of her use to attack her credibility.
Yeah. I mean, that's correct. I mean, it is not uncommon for somebody who has been sexually assaulted, first of all, not to come out immediately. We all know that. The Me Too movement has really shed some light on that. What's interesting, actually, is Senator Hatch actually yesterday said in a conversation with Judge Kavanaugh that Judge Kavanaugh actually remembers that he wasn't at the party.
Right.
You know, I just had my 50th birthday over the weekend, and I was thinking back to the 1980s. I can't recall what parties I went to, that's for sure. But there are a lot of facts that substantiate Professor Ford's claims. So we have, on the one hand, we have her passing a lie detector polygraph test. She has excellent counsel who is well thought of. She came in 2012. She presented this to her psychologist before Judge Kavanaugh was a Supreme Court nominee. She put somebody in the room. If she was going to make this up, would she put another person in?
And the person is an ally of.
Right, he's a Kavanaugh ally.
Yeah, but also, interestingly, in his book and in the yearbook, and paints a very disturbing picture of the environment that was going on there.
Do you mean Judge's yearbook page where he says that women should be gonged occasionally? I think that was it.
I mean, and the drinking that was going on. I mean, so there are some serious things that actually are in her favor. But on the flip side, in Judge Kavanaugh's defense, there are some things that are in his favor as well. I mean, usually in these types of cases, these are not one-offs. Now, the hearing's Monday. Maybe other people would come out. We don't know yet. But as far as we know, there are no other women who have protested or said anything negative about Judge Kavanaugh. And one thing that sticks out in my mind in particular is I was a former law clerk. Law clerks are very close to their judges. They do it at a law school for about a year or 2 years. They get to know their judge very well. He had a lot of women who were law clerks. None of them have said anything. So those are the sorts of things that are in his column. But Monday's going to be fascinating TV. I think a lot of people are going to be home and take off from work to watch it.
Do you think Monday is a good idea? Do you think the public hearings are a good idea? Because Anita Hill wrote a piece saying, hold on a second.
They don't have any better systems than they had back then.
If you think about what she went through personally, professionally, I mean, brutal.
I've given that a lot of thought. I'm not sure Monday's going to happen. I mean, a lot could happen between now and Monday.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, other things could come out. Maybe somebody who was at that party says, hold on a second, Judge Kavanaugh was there, and that sort of refutes what he said apparently to Senator Hatch. Another woman could come forward. Judge Kavanaugh could decide this spectacle actually is not in the best interests of my family, and I want to go back to the D.C. Circuit with my reputation intact. But there is no perfect system. When somebody accuses someone of sexual assault, their credibility is important. So difficult questions will no doubt be asked of Professor Ford, and there will be difficult questions to ask of Judge Kavanaugh, which will make for interesting viewing for people to assess credibility, but it is not a trial. I mean, the Senate's role here, pursuant to the Constitution, is to provide, is advice and consent.
Right. And not to determine guilt or innocence.
Exactly. But if is a feel. I mean, I've seen people say that even if it's true, he should be confirmed. I certainly don't agree with that.
Okay, but this is where the rubber hits the road, that I keep hearing things are so different. So much has changed since the 1990s. But sadly, I don't see that. I see that the Me Too movement exists. But if this is a repeat of what happened to Anita Hill, look at Twitter and look how Professor Ford is getting attacked, her character assassinated right now. Things actually don't seem different at all. If you look at the Republicans that are on the Judiciary Committee, it is a lineup of white guys over the age of 50. This is a president who voluntarily, a year ago, remember when he spoke to the New York Times, said Bill O'Reilly, he should take those women who accused him of harassment to court. I know he's such a good guy. I mean, when a leader says that...
He actually said they weren't even telling the truth before he even met or spoke to these women, and never did.
So how can we say things are so different from the 90s?
This is what I think is different. The same. What I think is different, I mean, of course there are fringe people on both the right and the left who are going to say crazy things on Twitter and social media. That's unfortunate, of course. But I think most people today who are watching this, you know, that 90% of the people, maybe 85% of the people, view sexual assault allegations very differently. I think the attitudes have changed, where if a woman comes forward and said that something happened 30-something years ago, it's not automatically dismissed as she should have come forward back in the 1980s. Therefore, if she didn't come forward, she should not have her day in court or her day here. Because people have been educated to know that sexual assault victims don't always come forward. A lot of them don't come forward for decades because they don't want to bring those things forward. They don't want their credibility attacked. There's a whole host of reasons why I think that has changed. And I do think, even though they are white men, Republicans, that they will treat the victim differently. I believe they will. We'll
you know, Orrin Hatch did say yesterday Professor Ford was mixed up.
And I think that will come back to haunt him. I think what might come back to haunt Judge Kavanaugh again is this thing that he wasn't even at. I just can't understand how he doesn't know he's at the party. How does he know that?
Yeah. I wish I could remember.
How does he know? That makes no sense.
So he's got to be able to say that sort of somewhere in a 10-year period he wasn't at any parties ever at anybody's house.
Yeah, and will Judge Kavanaugh submit to a lie detector test? Now, they're not admissible in court, of course, but this is not court. We know that various agencies use polygraphs and lie detector tests. Maybe he'll agree or disagree to submit to one as well.
Doug, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Doug Wigdor is former prosecutor. He now represents sexual harassment survivors.